Hello and welcome to June's Business Outlook Survey press conference call. My name is Catherine Dibbling, Senior Media Representative. With me today is Senior Economic Analyst Mike Trebbing, who will be answering questions from reporters about what our manufacturers said this month. And today we have Kathleen Madigan from Dow Jones and Bob Fernandez from the Philadelphia Inquirer. And now Mike Trebbing will give a brief summary of today's report. Mike?
Good morning. Manufacturing executives responding to the Business Outlook survey this month continue to report increases in manufacturing. Some of the survey's current indexes indicate a slower pace of growth compared with May, namely for general activity and employment. Firms also reported a moderation in cost pressures this month, and more firms reported price reductions than reported price increases for their own manufactured goods. Overall, firms remain generally optimistic about growth over the second half of 2010.
Questions? Kathleen?
Is there anything to be read into the inventory increasing finally, especially in light of shipments staying fairly steady?
As you mentioned, it bounced back from a negative reading to positive number this month. What we don't know is what caused that increase, whether it was an unintended increase or an intentional increase. So I'm not exactly sure how to make logic out of it with regard to the other indicators. We did have a reduction in the general activity index this month, suggesting activity is a little bit slower than the prior month. But the shipments and the new orders numbers, were still positive and held up a little bit better.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Questions? Bob Fernandez, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Mike. So, do you think this is some sort of inflection point? This is a pretty big drop down to 8.
Right, it's a fairly large decline, and what we do is we look at all of the indicators to see if there's any corollary evidence of slowing. And of course, the employment numbers went down below zero again this month, the first time in a while.
How long was that? Let me see here. Well, how long was that?
We had negative readings in October and November of last year. So we had,
the last time?
Correct. So we've had positive readings, since December. This is the first time that number's gone slightly negative, and we also had fewer firms reporting increases in average work hours this week. So that indicator also fell. Looking to the comments, we did have a few firms that indicated a slowing in pace compared to the past few months. Nobody was talking about declines, but we know from the national numbers, that April and May were fairly decent months for manufacturing nationally. So a pause like this may not be too surprising, but it'll take a couple more months of these readings to see if indeed it's a slowing or a flattening out.
Follow-ups, Kathleen Madigan, Dow Jones.
Any comment on the slowdown on the prices paid and then the negative reading for prices received?
Right, we saw a rather substantial 26-point decline in the prices paid index this month, primarily associated with not as many firms reporting increases in their costs, from about 39% of the firms last month to just 19% this month. There were no comments that I can remember specifically about prices paid or cost reductions. Possibly some petroleum price reductions filtering through. Possible impact of the stronger dollar, I'm not sure. And also a weaker number on the prices received side with 15% of the firms reporting declines, slightly ahead of the 9% reporting increases. So some weakness, price reductions as a group of these manufacturers.
Follow-up questions. Bob Fernandez, Philadelphia Inquirer.
I mean, it seems like the general feel for this is an across-the-board slackening, of demand, whether it's prices, labor. Does this continue? Does this continue? An April-May read, or is this a? I mean, we've seen the market, respond with this decline in whatever it was, from 11,000, 10,000, it's bounced back. But is there any evidence of strength here? I mean, it seems like an across-the-board slackening.
No, I think the fact that all of these diffusion indexes are positive is still, with the exception of this slight negative reading on unemployment, it's still indicative of growth. Diffusion indexes are intended to measure changes from month to month. So if we have a pause, 1 month of a lower diffusion index, it doesn't necessarily mean overall decline. And a month-to-month activity can be very volatile in the manufacturing sector. So I wouldn't read too much into 1 month's decline. But again, the comments were still suggestive of overall improvement in conditions, but there were marginal firms that said that they had experienced a slight weakening in demand. So that would contribute to, reading not being as favorable as the previous month.
And just one last, I'm sorry, one follow-up. So you got these, it's now June 17th, right? Today's 17th, yeah. So you would have gotten these the first 2 weeks of June?
We were still receiving some at the beginning of this week, so we cut off this past Tuesday. So that most of the data came in, right? Most of the data came in, at the tail end of the first week, in the second week of June. So we processed the data pretty quickly. So it's fairly current read on what's happening in June.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any follow-ups? Kathleen Madigan, Dow Jones.
No, thank you.
And Bob, you have another question?
I think I'm doing okay. I guess I get to these special questions. Are you going to go over those, Mike, or no? We just try to interpret them ourselves.
I can if you have any questions about them. Generally speaking, generally speaking, it's a question we asked in the past about firms' plans with regard to relocating some of their operations, on all of their operations, and we asked similar questions in previous years, and also asked the firms about what factors were contributing to keeping the firms in the tri-state region, and factors that were having an impact on them leaving. So the data are laid out in the tables. And if you have any questions, I can answer them now or offline.
Okay, I'll take a look at them. It looks good.
Sure.
Okay, so you will have the video of this up? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
I would like to thank Kathleen Madigan, Dow Jones, and Bob Fernandez of the Inquirer for joining us on today's conference call. My name is Catherine Dibbling, Senior Media Representative with the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, and with me today has been Mike Trebbing, Senior Economic Analyst, also with the bank. Our next Business Outlook survey will be posted on our website, philadelphiafed.org, and on Business Wire on Thursday, July 15th, 2010 at 10 a.m. Thank you, and we hope to see you then.